engineering arrives at the port. That's coming up.
Hello and welcome to LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Yana Kay. If you live or have driven around Hollywood recently, you've probably noticed all the construction cranes overhead. Well, that's because the area's building boom is in full swing. Gil Reyes hears from developers who answer some of their critics.
Have you seen it? The recently opened Dream Hotel on Selma and Cahuenga. It's one of several new development projects in Hollywood, and more are coming.
We also have a lot of housing that's under construction, as well as some new office buildings that are just being completed that'll bring new jobs here to Hollywood.
Laron Gubler, CEO of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, gives us an update at the Hollywood Economic Summit. You could say Hollywood's construction boom actually began 15 years ago with the development of the Hollywood and Highland complex. And since then, the building has not stopped. Currently, there are some 90 construction projects here in Hollywood that are either in the pipeline or in the planning stages. Of course, all this growth has its critics, longtime residents who say development is pricing them out of the neighborhood. They've fought back at the polls and in court, but former area councilman Tom LaBonge reminds them development has benefits too, like job creation.
There's this economic engine that does help people.
Developers also say the more housing we build, the more the cost of housing goes down because there's more available for everyone. But getting in the way, developers say, is the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. Developers behind Dream Hotel say the law needs to be reformed.
Anyone off the street can file a litigation matter on a CEQA, and then you have to challenge it. And that threat of challenging it could drag out some time. You have a threat of being able to get your financing or not on a project.
Has that affected you personally?
It's affecting us now, yeah.
In fact, two other Hollywood projects from Dream Hotel developers remain tied up in court. The city is updating a Hollywood community plan that will hopefully be adopted by the beginning of 2018.
We're listening to everyone and all viewpoints. That's why this plan actually preserves about half of the area in terms of keeping the residential neighborhoods intact,
while concentrating much of the construction near transit stops to encourage more public transit, less driving. In Hollywood, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell also wants to add more traffic signals around development projects to help ensure safety. Heading over to the LA River, where restoration efforts got a big boost thanks to $100 million. Gil Reyes has more on what the money flow could bring.
We could see soccer fields, hiking paths, and picnic areas here, thanks to a newly approved state budget.
This is an important milestone for Los Angeles.
State leaders adding $100 million to the pot in plans to revitalize the LA River. Two public agencies will oversee the grant money, half of it going to the upper half of the channel, the rest going to the lower half. Money will be divided among river nonprofits like Friends of the LA River. The group wants to rip out much of the concrete and restore the river to its natural state.
And it couldn't come at a more crucial moment. All across the country, our environment and environmental organizations are under fire. But our California leadership demonstrates over and over again its commitment and its sharing in the vision that we have as environmental stewards.
But some say revitalization and development will squeeze longtime residents out of neighborhoods.
This is just a beautification process to help the gentrification process that other communities around LA are feeling right now. We are being evicted from our house.
While others say opening up the river to recreation and development along 51 miles from Canoga Park to Long Beach is a good thing.
I know for me as a girl from Boa Heights, connecting with nature helped me bring opportunities about what is possible and and how you can actually play a role in changing your neighborhood and changing your environment.
Along the LA River, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The state also kicked in $51 million to help the city buy Taylor Yard in Cypress Park. Mayor Eric Garcetti has called the parcel the crown jewel of the LA River restoration plan. Well, not in a galaxy so far away, but right here in LA. The director of Star Wars decides to dock the legacy of his empire in the city. Rasha Goel has more.
And we said from the beginning that the force was very strong here in Los Angeles. We said that we were a place that would get the job done and would open up our arms and our hearts.
Mayor Eric Garcetti is referring to opening up the City of Angels to the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art. The Los Angeles City Council recently approved the plans for the $1.5 billion museum funded by Lucas himself. The museum will be built in Exposition Park adjacent to Lucas's alma mater, USC.
This is probably, from an individual family for a single museum, the largest gift in American history in a single place. We make history together because of the generosity of this family who understands what giving back is all about.
The 5-story museum will look like a spaceship hovering above the park. According to Lucas, the museum won't only focus on film, but other forms of narrative art such as storytelling and painting. Lucas's personal collection of fine and popular art, including memorabilia related to his Star Wars franchise, will also be a part of the museum. All of this with one goal in mind:
to inspire people to think outside the box, to imagine whatever you want to imagine, to help build on the myths that bind our city and our people together.
George Lucas and his wife Melody Hobson chose Los Angeles over San Francisco for the museum's location.
This is where we were supposed to be. And I know it took us a couple stops to get here, but please know how much we appreciate the support, the enthusiasm, and the love that we've gotten from this city.
City leaders say the museum will not only be a global attraction, but will also expose local families and kids to the arts in new and exciting ways.
Art makes people from all races and all ages and all sizes and shapes. It brings us together. A lot of times we don't even know it, but it makes us think. It makes us dream.
And this is one dream that will perhaps help inspire a new generation of dreamers. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The museum's construction is scheduled to start by early next year, with an opening date tentatively set for 2021. Turning now to LA Metro's bike share program, which has already taken quite a chunk of pollution out of the air, and it's just getting started. San Pedro becomes the latest city to get Metro bikes. Ana Marcos joins community members for a ride.
We're heading right through you. Yeah. And I don't know how to use the brakes, so get out of the way.
That's County Supervisor Janice Hahn revving up. Other bike fans do last-minute checkups on their two-wheelers, and some take a little test run. They're getting ready for a very special Metro bike outing along San Pedro's waterfront.
Well, what kind of bike are you riding today, and what do you expect to...
It's a Schwinn, and it's an electric bike, okay, because I'm an old man.
I'm supposed to be famous because I ride a skateboard.
But today, you're riding a bike?
Yeah.
Some of them think it's kind of weird to ride a bike, but I'm like, no, dude, this is cool. Albert Einstein did it.
And with that, Einstein lovers, bike lovers, Metro lovers, and non-brake users take off on San Pedro's first ever Metro bike sharing ride. San Pedro now becomes the third community in LA to get the Metro bike share rentals. All you have to do is use a Metro Bike Pass card or a credit card, and you're off.
I always see visitors either to town or coming off of the cruise ships, walking long distances to get to the restaurants or to get to Crafted. So I think they're really going to love this bike share.
It's always good to ride a bike as opposed to driving. And, you know, we're trying to get to zero emissions. Clearly, this vehicle is zero emissions.
We believe that the bicycle is a tool to decongest cities, to make them more sustainable, more equitable and safe.
And there's plenty of bikes for everyone, with 120 rentals and 13 bike stations all over the waterfront.
This bike sharing is really an important new mobility tool that will improve access to waterfront destinations.
Since it was first introduced in downtown LA last year, the Metro Bike Share program has helped take 471,000 pounds of carbon dioxide emissions out of our air. Now that's reason enough to start pedaling. I'm Ana Marcos for LA This Week.
So far, downtown LA, Pasadena, and San Pedro have gotten the Metro bikes, with Venice next by the end of summer. For more information, visit metro.net/bikeshare. Also in San Pedro, they arrived representing 14 nations. When they left, they were all Americans. Gil Reyes takes us to a special citizenship ceremony on board the USS Iowa.
Please raise your right hands and repeat after me.
Meet LA's newest United States citizens.
There's no words to describe how happy we are today that we are all becoming American citizens, and I feel like that's the dream of everyone here living in this country.
Fernanda Manzano is among the 41 young people taking the oath of allegiance on board the U.S. San Pedro. Their ages range between 7 and 22 years old. They became eligible for citizenship when their parents were naturalized.
I am so honored and excited to say to you, greetings, my fellow Americans.
U.S. Senator Kamala Harris attends the ceremony. Harris, the daughter of immigrants herself. Her mom is from India, her dad from Jamaica. She tells the group that immigrants built this country and to exercise their rights as Americans.
Get involved. Attend town hall meetings or city council meetings. Run for offices yourselves. Vote. All of these are the responsibilities of the citizenship you have now earned.
New American Victoria Keller has enjoyed life in the U.S. for years now. But among friends and classmates, something's been missing until now.
For them, it's like you're not really part of the country. So it's nice to kind of just be like officially part of the country.
Not to mention new privileges like the right to vote, to run for public office, to be eligible for federal benefits, and to be able to travel abroad for long periods of time without fear of deportation. San Pedro Council member Joe Buscaino is also here. Buscaino, a first-generation Italian-American.
It reminded me a lot of my family when they first came here to San Pedro, to the Los Angeles. And their story is no different than our story. A story of opportunity, of faith, of love, of family. And this city of Los Angeles continues to welcome everyone from all over the world.
On board the USS Iowa in San Pedro, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
LA's newest Americans come from Mexico, Egypt, Nigeria, the Philippines, and several other nations. Well, just like many of those new U.S. citizens, many come to realize the American dream. And as one family who came from Mexico shows us, the American dream is alive and well if you work hard. Rasha Goel has more.
In 1926, Mexican immigrant Ignacio Lozano founded La Opinión, which became the first Spanish-language print newspaper in the LA area. Today, the paper celebrates its 90th anniversary, and the Lozano family is being honored for bridging a gap through media.
It really wasn't until La Opinión existed that I think a lot of Latinos here in LA had a source of information and empowerment that was really needed.
The Lozano family received the Pobladores Award and were recognized as local trailblazers. In fact, not only is La Opinión the second most read newspaper in Los Angeles, it is the largest Spanish-language newspaper. Monica Lozano, member of the Lozano family and former publisher of the paper, remembers her grandfather Ignacio Lozano's legacy.
And the fact that he had such commitment and such dedication to providing news and information to the Latino community, and that we can carry that on over 3 generations and 90 years is just extraordinary. So for me, this is a celebration of the founder of La Opinión, Ignacio Lozano.
Recognizing Latino media pioneers is part of La Plaza's mission to cultivate an appreciation for Latino history, art, and culture.
Our museum is dedicated to the founding of Los Angeles by the original pobladores, the families who came up from Mexico in 1781. And we do that through exhibitions that we conduct here. We have permanent historical exhibitions that tell the history of Los Angeles. And we also have changing exhibitions that are historical or artistic in nature.
And by recognizing those who are making an impact in the community, as did the Lozano family. And for publisher Ignacio Lozano Jr., he says the mission was no longer to be a Mexican newspaper published in Los Angeles, but an American newspaper that happens to be published in Spanish. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The annual dinner is a charity event and raised $200,000 to support La Plaza's educational programs. Well, sure, Northern California is famous for wine country, but once upon a time, Los Angeles was primo for vino. Gil Reyes reports on some old-school winemaking, LA style.
Built in 1818, a Villa Adobe on Olvera Street is the oldest standing home in Los Angeles. The site also shares history with downtown LA's last remaining winery, San Antonio Winery.
The actual original San Antonio Winery was actually here on site, but the grapes that you see in the oldest house in the city of Los Angeles at the Avila Adobe Museum is actually still producing grapes.
Enter LA City archivist Michael Holland. He's also an amateur winemaker. Holland and fellow vintner Wes Hagen decided to make wine out of the Olvera Street grapes. They shared their creation at this annual Spirit Symposium at Avila Adobe. Their wine, a classic Angelica, was the same variety created by Mission Padres over a century ago, back when Los Angeles County was the epicenter of winemaking, long before Napa Valley.
This is a very small, little hidden piece of Los Angeles history. Southern California used to have more acreage in grapes and more wineries than Northern California until about the 1890s, when the property around here became more valuable for housing and freeways and roads and various things like that.
We were making tons of wine at San Gabriel Mission in Los Angeles until we had a disease come up called Anaheim disease or Pierce's disease. That happened simultaneously with the gold rush starting in Northern California. So all the money, all the grapes moved north to Northern California, while Southern California viticulture sort of languished and died.
But LA's link to the past lives on with these vines on Olvera Street. DNA tests showed they're at least 150 years old, possibly the oldest grapevines in California. Los Angeles also still has San Antonio Winery on Lamar Street. Downtown's last remaining winery turns 100 years old this fall.
It is a part of the culture, a part of the history, what makes Los Angeles Los Angeles. And the family has been here several generations, and they wouldn't even dream of being anywhere else but Los Angeles.
Still the toast of the coast, with or without wine country. On LA's Olvera Street, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
And you can see quite possibly the oldest grapevines in California live, free, and up close at Avila Adobe on Olvera Street. Well, here's an important reminder as kids head back to school. Watch the road, especially near school zones. Anna Marcos joins us from the Valley with more. Anna.
Yana, as more than 55 million students around the country head back to school, educators and traffic advocates want to make sure they stay safe, especially here in LA. They have some tips for parents, students, and drivers. It's a stark and graphic demonstration. This is a kid's brain in a helmet, and this is the same kid's brain without a helmet after an accident.
What did you see there? What did you learn?
A brain.
And that could be your brain, right?
So if they have a helmet on, 85% of them are going to walk away. Helmets save lives.
You don't really think about using helmets, so it's an eye-opener.
Bikes and helmets, just one of the many lessons as the Schools Open Drive Carefully campaign takes off in LA and the country. It's an effort to get drivers, students, and parents putting child and traffic safety first as classes start up again.
Drivers through the summer haven't seen kids out on the street, so now it's going to be the perfect storm.
The campaign is a yearly joint effort by AAA, the LA Unified School District, and traffic safety groups. The biggest takeaway for drivers, always be on the alert for pedestrians and bikes. No texting and driving, and slow down.
If a car is moving at 40 miles per hour, there's only a 10% chance that that child will survive. At 20 miles per hour, that student has an 80% chance of living.
We know that taking your eyes off the road for just 2 seconds doubles your chances of being involved in a crash.
Parents should obey school traffic rules and pay attention to drop-off and pickup points. And kids, look before you step out on the street. Use a crosswalk. And if you're on a bike, wear a helmet. Close to 2,000 kids were injured or killed in California pedestrian accidents in 2015. Just about all of those could have been prevented. I'm Anna Margos for LA This Week.
For more information on school safety tips, visit AAA.com/school safety. The LAPD considers deploying drones during selected tactical operations. Designers go for a walk on the wild side to benefit the LA Zoo, and Metro Rideshare marks its first birthday. All these stories in City Beat. The Los Angeles Police Department took its first step toward starting a drone pilot program. LAPD Assistant Chief Beatrice Gurmala presented the department's plan for a pilot program for limited use of drones to the Board of Police Commissioners. Gurmala said the department plans to hold a series of public meetings to get feedback on the program, then draft official guidelines before bringing the pilot program back to the commissioners for approval. The guidelines the LAPD is considering would create limited uses for drones that would respect First and Fourth Amendment rights, and that the devices would not be used for general surveillance. Criteria for their use would include high-risk tactical operations, risk of exposure to hazardous materials, detection of explosive devices, barricaded armed suspect responses, and hostage rescues. A special exhibit of international art, fashion, and film was held recently benefiting the LA Zoo and Botanical Gardens Conservation Program, and to celebrate the zoo's 50th anniversary. Put on by Moda 360, the event featured a sustainable runway fashion show called A Walk on the Wild Side, with creations by artists and designers reflecting the species, habitats, and conservation projects. The goal of the 2017 exhibit was to highlight sustainability and the importance of preserving the habitats and inhabitants of our planet. It's been 1 year since Metro launched its bike share program. Metro and community members came out to mark the occasion. Officials say there have been more than 180,000 rides on Metro Bike Share in the first year.
It's a celebration of Los Angeles making way and room for bikes as a mode of transportation.
Well, cops took to the streets recently not to make arrests, but to nurture trust and establish bonds with community members. Gil Reyes reports from National Night Out, where the public seemed receptive.
With LA City Attorney Mike Feuer up front, people marched to LAPD's Olympic Station for a night of bonding between cops and communities.
We feel your strength. We feel your love. We are only as successful as you and your partnerships allow us to be.
With food and fun, National Night Out gives families a chance to get to know their local officers and the problems they face. This summer, it's a spike in robberies, up 28% in the Koreatown, East Hollywood area between June and July. Police say crooks are targeting people on cell phones.
So we have a big push about trying not to be distracted when you're out and about. Don't talk on the phone, take the music off, be aware of your surroundings, because most of the robberies that occur, they walk up behind you, they grab your phone, or they just get right in front of you, you have no idea.
Though gaining public trust is the goal, law enforcement continues to be plagued by bad press. Recently, former LA County Sheriff Lee Baca was sentenced to prison on charges stemming from FBI investigations into inmate abuse in his jails. And at LAPD, scandal in the cadet program. Several accused of stealing cars and equipment. One adult officer accused of sexual relations with an underage cadet. Despite all this, LA City Council member Mitch O'Farrell strongly supports local cops.
Are there tragic issues with abuse of law enforcement? Absolutely. But it is an infinitesimal percentage compared to all of the good that are done by law enforcement.
I come to support my community.
Myri Alonzo appreciates Olympic Station's free domestic violence classes for women.
I feel of the cops, they help people.
Joshua Pop says he'd like to become an officer someday. Of course, Olympic Division, not the only LAPD agency doing this tonight. So are Devonshire Division, Foothill Division, and Wilshire Division, among so many other law enforcement agencies across Southern California. Reporting from National Night Out, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Though Councilmember O'Farrell supports a full investigation into the cadet incident, he also strongly supports that the program continue. Support Studio City with a neighborhood street fair, enjoy Disney's Moana on the big screen for free, and celebrate the unique flavor of Echo Park. All this in this week's Things to Do. Alternative Entertainment and the Studio City Business District, in partnership with Councilmember Paul Krikorian, present the Studio City Street Festival. Eat, shop, play, and support your local community with 60 vendors, great music, local shops, and restaurants. The festival takes place Saturday, August 19th from 5 to 9 p.m. at 12001 Ventura Place. If you haven't seen Disney's Moana, here's your chance. Join this adventurous teenager as she sails out on a daring mission to save her people. Along the way, she meets a once mighty demigod who joins her on this action-packed adventure. The screening takes place on August 19th at 10 a.m. at the Madrid Theater in Canoga Park, but you must register first. Visit blumenfield.lacity.org. Watch your favorite bands play for free during Echo Park Rising, a neighborhood event that focuses on the music, creativity, diversity, and small businesses of Echo Park. There are multiple stages and activities throughout the weekend located on main routes of Sunset Boulevard, Glendale, Alvarado Avenue, and Echo Park Avenue. More than 300 bands will descend on the neighborhood of Echo Park for one free weekend of outdoor shows. In addition to the lineup of artists performing, shops, galleries, restaurants all come together to celebrate the vibrancy of this eclectic boulevard. It all takes place on Thursday, August 17th through Sunday, August 20th. For more, visit epr.la. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Emergency, operator 271.
The city of Los Angeles receives over 2 million 911 calls every year. Hello, I'm Mayor Eric Garcetti.
I'm Chief Charlie Beck. A significant number of 911 calls are not emergencies.
911 should be used for emergency calls, such as preservation of life, a crime in progress, prevention of a crime, or a public hazard.
If your call is not an emergency, such as a loud party, verbal dispute, public nuisance, or lost or missing property, you can dial 1-877-ASK-LAPD to have the police respond.
Remember, call 1-877-ASK-LAPD for non-emergency calls.
Los Angeles Police Department, what are you reporting?
Hi, I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Good morning. If everyone would please take their seats. Everyone, please take their seats. Welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Madam Clerk, we have a quorum. Would you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Weezer moves. Mr. Harris Dawson seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. O'Farrell moves and Mr. Krikorian seconds. Continue.
And Mr. President, today is Tuesday and time for the flag salute.
So if I can ask all to please rise. We'll be led today in our flag salute by Mr. Mitch O'Farrell.
President, if all could put their hand on their heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if I could ask everyone to remain standing just for a moment as our thoughts go back east, I'm going to request a moment of silence as we give our condolences, and I will ask that we all reflect on where we are as a country and where we need to be as a country, and we here in Los Angeles need to give thought where it relates to our role in bringing this country together. So if you would all join me in a moment of silence. Thank you all. Please be seated. Can we go through the agenda?
Yes, Mr. President. Item 1 is an item noticed for public hearing.
Do we have cards on this item?
Yes, there are cards on the item.
Continue.
Items 2 through 11 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Specials, members, specials. I don't see any. Let's prepare to vote on these items. Let's
2 through 11.
Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Continue.
And Mr. President, the ordinances for items 7, 8, and 9 will be held over to August 22nd unless reconsidered with 12 members.
Thank you. If we get to that point, please remind me so we can do it today. Continue.
Items 12 through 17 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
So without objection, those items are now before this body. Do you have cards on these items?
Yes, there are cards on all items.
Continue.
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations or items called special or general public comment.
I'm going to look to Mr. Cedillo. Would you like to start the day off, Mr. Cedillo? The floor is yours, sir.
Ready, Mr. President?
In fact, before you start, shh. Now the floor is yours.
Mr. President, thank you for stopping us a minute ago to take a moment to reflect on the incredible challenges that exist in our nation. They were demonstrated over the weekend The degree of divisiveness is extraordinary. We all had thought and assumed we had made greater progress, but to see such blatant, open, arrogant displays of racism is shocking and stunning for us in our nation and around the world. I say that so that we can have an appreciation for why we're here today. We are here to honor Monsignor Oscar Romero. This would have been the 100th anniversary of his birth. August 15th is a day that is marked for Salvadorans throughout the world because there is a diaspora of Salvadorans throughout the world as a result of their civil war. And the Monsignor, soon to be canonized, is a man of peace, a man who stood up and spoke for the oppressed, for the workers, for the country to be united and to oppose the war. His actions are in the hearts and minds of all Salvadorans, and I say that with great pride because my district is, in fact, the district with the most Salvadorans outside of El Salvador. This Saturday, we named a street after him over at what was once 15th in Normandy, is now Monsignor Romero and Normandy. And we also had a celebration at MacArthur Park where we have a statue in his honor. Thank you. I think at this moment, men like the Monsignor need to be acknowledged and recognized because these are the voices of peace that stood up. They were the voices that needed to be heard and were heard. He lost his life speaking against the war and calling for peace. He was assassinated for that reason. On the other hand, we have the failure of others to speak up when it is their duty and their moral obligation. And so there is no more important moment for us to honor the Monsignor than this very moment today in these chambers. We are honored to have the Consul General of the Republic of El Salvador, Mercedes Lopez Peña, who will share a few words. I have worked with her during her tenure here. We are busy at work advising immigrants and their families about how to respond during this dark period of the Trump administration. She is very candid about the responsibilities that immigrants have here to comply with the law, to be good citizens and good residents of Los Angeles, and to do all that they can to make their contributions positive and known here so that they can protect their current status. It's an honor to work with her. It's an honor to have her. She is a diplomat of the highest order. Let me introduce and give you Consul General Mercedes Lopez Peña.
Consul General, welcome. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Concejal Cedillo. Thank you to all the council members. Los Angeles, the city of Los Angeles, is our second home for the Salvadorian community. We have our heart in two places, El Salvador and Los Angeles. That's what really means this city for our community. We have more than 1 million Salvadorians living in LA, facing many things, beautiful things, happiness, but at the same time, many difficulties. But for many years, these council members, this city, have given a lot of solidarity for our community. Coming here, I saw the sister cities, all the cities that you have as a sister cities, and there is San Salvador. That's really mean a lot for the Salvadorian people. So today we want to thank for all these efforts as council members that you have done for our community. Today, August 15, will be 100 years para nuestro Monseñor Romero, who was killed 33 years ago, because he was la voz de los sin voz, the voice for all those people who couldn't say what they were facing because of the war in our country. So we want to celebrate this today, August 15, 100 years of example that means a lot, because he was willing, he gave his life because of our people, because of the happiness of our people, because of the changes in our country and in our society. So we really want to thank you today for being with us today. Thank you.
Council, on behalf of a gracious city, we give you this. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Where's there you are. Okay. Vamos a estar todos.
Let's give him one more round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Madam Clerk, if we could quickly reconsider item 4 at the request of Mr. Harris Dawson. So, members, I'm going to open the roll on reconsideration. Item 4, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Harris Dawson.
Thank you so much, Mr. President and members. I wanted to rise today to formally thank Mayor Garcetti for appointing Kelly Dillon to the Commission for Community for Family Services. Kelly makes me very proud, and as her representative, as her neighbor, and as her friend, as I think we're bringing her to the front now, I am humbled and confident that this passionate and insightful African-American woman from South Los Angeles will serve this commission, and I will look forward to the advice she'll provide to the body on issues of poverty and the needs of youth and their family. It's been a pleasure to work with her on our neighborhood council in the southeast area of the district. We're happy to have her on a city commission. Kelly is a survivor of domestic and gang violence and an advocate for violence prevention and intervention programs. At the age of 19, Kelly found herself incarcerated and sentenced to serve 15 years in prison. While serving her time, she began assisting fellow inmates and counseling and working on social justice issues. She transitioned out of poverty with an unwavering commitment to service in her neighborhood in South Los Angeles through civic engagement. One of her greatest additions to the commission will be her ability to relate to the community she is serving, delivering on the promises of the oath that she'll soon take, and also serving without prejudice or ill-conceived or stereotypical notions about poverty. This is not her first stint advocating for a cause. In 2014, Kelly worked as an advocate for Justice Now alongside Senator Hannah Beth Jackson on Senate Bill 1135, the anti-sterilization bill that went forward in the state of California. Her testimony was key in helping the Senate and Governor Brown sign this bill into law to ban unlawful and non-consensual sterilization of California's many prisoners. Since that time, she's received several awards for her passionate works and continues to volunteer throughout the city and our neighborhood. And I ask our members for an enthusiastic aye vote for my good friend, Kelly Dillon, who we put up our placard this morning, Black Girl Magic, in honor of.
Okay, Kelly, before you start, let me say this. In particular, I'm going to direct this to you, Mr. Herman. The way things are going to work here is when you have the mic, that's your time. You will be afforded to talk. When other people are talking, there are no goat sounds and things of that nature. It throws them off. It disrupts them. It disrupts us, and we're not going to have that. So I am warning you now that when other people speak, that you will remain silent. Another goat sound, and you will be asked to leave. And it's going to be like this every day. When people are speaking, you're going to remain in your seat and show them the respect that they show you when you get up to this podium. If you cannot do that, you will be removed. With that said, Madam City Attorney, I officially warned him, and from this is the policy from here on out. And I'm sure that Ms. Martinez and Mr. Englander will adhere to that as well. Kelly, thank you for agreeing to serve this great city. The floor is yours.
Hello, Council. I just want to say that it is an honor to even be thought of this position, as well as elected and appointed. I will give my all in my service to the city of Los Angeles, and even more so the people of Los Angeles. I just want to say thank you today.
We just want to thank you. You could turn your back on this city. You could just, stay at home and just kind of keep to yourself. Life was challenging for you, but you decided that you were going to make yourself better, your community better, and we're just so fortunate to have you before us. So, and I'm very proud of you personally. So, and I know Mr. Harris Dawson is. So, with that said, Madam Clerk, why don't we make this official? Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I want to ask Donna Pearman to come forward. You have items 14, 15, 16, and general public comment. Sergeants, if you would let her through.
In public comment, right? Yeah, great. Okay, we have 14. I'll just say something small on number 14 here. That's it says $50,000 in identification, apprehension, and conviction. So I don't know if that means that the $50,000, the person has to wait for them to be identified, apprehended, and convicted, because that's not necessarily, you're not going to necessarily get a conviction. And I don't think people are going to get $50,000 when their life might be in danger. So I think you're wasting your time with the $50,000. Actually, I think there should be a fund of some sort that goes to help the victims of violence, help them with their losing of their person, and not necessarily giving it to someone who's trying to get money off of somebody else's tragedy. And number 15 is the Taste of Toluca and Movies in the Parks, $5,000. Well, that's nice that neighborhood council is coming up with the Taste of Toluca, with the Greater Toluca Lake and Sherman Oaks. Hey, Sherman Oaks. That's real close to Van Nuys. We even have some Sherman Oaks people in Van Nuys. It's too bad that you can't use some of your money in the neighborhood council along with the Van Nuys Neighborhood Council freedom of speech. Wouldn't that be nice to use it? Especially Mr. Rue, wouldn't it be nice to have freedom of speech, which means Van Nuys video conference?
Stay on the subject.
That's freedom of speech. I'm asking
Stay on the
Sherman
subject, Ms. Pearman.
Able to do it. That's nice for Toluca Lake. Taste of freedom. I'm asking Sherman Oaks to spend the money to be able to speak. And number 16, I want to know what the Breed Street Elementary School and Sheridan School Safe route to school project. How do you exactly make it any safer with the $450,000 that's that was from CRA. They could see there was lots of money in CRA that was never used, and now they're supposedly using it to save route to school project when most people are probably driven to school. So looks like that's I don't think that $450,000 could be used for better projects than just an obscure project that doesn't even really make any sense. I mean, everybody wants to take care of elementary schools, but it doesn't say how they're going to take care of it. And I'm sorry, but I think the CRA should be giving money back to have freedom of speech and have Van Nuys video conferencing.
If we could give her 1 minute for general public comment.
It wasn't the Patriots' fault. In Charlottesville, when they had their mayhem, they didn't start the fight. It was they were sandwiched in between KKK and Antifa, both hateful groups, and that guy, that 20-year-old, should be charged for murder one because it was deliberate. And I'm so sick and tired of you guys putting down Trump whenever you can. I don't like that. And anyway, they should let people vote to keep the Robert E. Lee statue in the state. In South Carolina, either they let them keep it or remove it. It should be up to the people over there. When that's making of the sanctuary state, we'll have a civil war of people fighting each other because of you and your corruption. You only care about your political careers, not your constituents. And if you say, if it gets real bad, I'm sorry, they may go after you, and I hate to see that. We need not have more hate in fighting.
Thank you. Let's pull up Mr. Walsh on my screen, please. Mr. Walsh, items 1, 12A, 12B, 13, 14, 15, 17A, and then your general public comment.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, and tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Item number 1, another liquor license. We don't have enough liquor licenses. Ms. Rodriguez votes for all the liquor licenses, and when the blood hits, this is the hit and run capital of the world. And when someone hits the ground, it's someone of her color. Most of the people who are killed are Hispanics or blacks. It is vile to think that anybody can get a liquor license in this city. Anybody, out of necessity, that we don't have enough liquor licenses. The world, come to LA, get a liquor license, and watch what happens. And incidentally, it isn't in the Jewish neighborhoods that the people are killed. They're killed in your neighborhoods, Cedillo's neighborhoods, Bonin's neighborhoods. You people are just absolutely vomitous when it comes to liquor licenses. You've never denied a liquor license. This is the city where people die for this is the hit and run capital of the world. And the LA Times said that. But they don't give a shit because they live.
Move on to another item.
Number 12. He's not interested. This is a rent escrow account program. There, you're doing a good job. Remember, when you do a good job, I'm not one of these white guys that saying you're all a bunch of crooks. I'm not that way. When you do a good job, I say you do a good job, and you do a good job on rent. I've been renting here since 1976. Okay, naming intersection Richard Giger Square? Well, that's fine, but I want to know who Richard Giger is. Tell us who Richard Giger is. And 14, this is a reward for Christian Nino. If you're murdered in this city, they hand out no rewards because if you apply for the reward, the gangs will kill you. The gangs will kill you because they run the city, not you folks, and conviction of the person responsible for the death of Christian Nino, and that was in January. And then number 15, this is these various Taste of Toluca and movies, park events. This is good. You're doing a good job. Okay, now let's
hold on, Mr. Walsh. Let's give him his 1 minute for general public comment.
General public comment comes down to simple. You are not going to be able to hold the Olympics here. There was a little squabble in Rio at a service station, and it was worldwide. I'm telling you right now who runs the city. The streets are run by the gangs, and if you don't have permission from the gangs to run the Olympics, you're wasting your time. This city, there is absolutely nothing here except the gangs are in control of the city. And you can pretend that the gangs don't exist. And when you mention the gangs, Mr. Bonin needs industrial strength. It depends, because he treats the gangs the way Monica Lewinsky treated the President of the United States, as long as they stay on their side.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Madam Clerk, we have 12 members present. Why don't you highlight the items we need to vote on reconsideration? And let's do that.
That would be items 7, 8, and 9 with ordinances.
Okay. On those items, this first vote is for reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now let's actually vote on the items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Pull up Mr. Herman on my screen. Okay, Mr. Herman, you have items 1, items 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, A and B, and general public comment.
Now that we have more alcohol, thank you, Jose Huizar, no one's to say that you're not safe. So let's just encourage more liquor license. Let's have more alcohol and booze in the city of Los Angeles so that we can be out of control and have the actions that happened this past weekend. That's why we're so absurd, because we have councilmen who have bars in the area and want to give out liquor license like Jose Huizar. That's item number 1 for you. And then what about item number 6? 666.
Mr. Herman, that's not one of the items. So stick to the items that you filled out.
Let's go to item number, if I can count right, item number 14, for example, folks. Offer a reward for information leading to the identification and apprehension of someone like me, a character. Right? No one's guilty until presumed guilty, right, rookie? And so when you decide to offer an award, as John Walsh, Hollywood Highland would say, if you don't have it posted, and Paul Koretz is the only fool to identify and give out one goddamn reward in all your liquor license issues, there's something definitely wrong here today. Trump. And then we go to item number 16, Jose Huizar and Mr. Dawson. Let me inspire you. Let me inspire you regarding Sheridan Street School, safe routes to school projects. Well, if you want a safe route, just follow me down. Follow me down. I'm the safest route there is in Los Angeles. Because nobody fucks with white niggers like me. Nobody asks
Stay
a
on
white
the subject. Stay on the subject.
I am safe. I can guarantee you that if you walk with me for $450,000,
Stay on the subject.
CRLA excess non-housing bond proceeds available to Council District 14. Now, rookie, am I on topic? Absolutely. That's why I inspire the CRLA to take a step back and get the fuck out of our business. The CRA is dead.
Give him his 1 minute for general public comment.
Oh, he made a noise. Woof, woof, woof. Now that I have your attention, now that I, the puppet master, run the show here for all of you, it's 607-616. The Department of Justice is investigating the LAPD under Title II, Title III for discrimination against a service dog. Now, the service dog asked me to say politely for you, ruff, roo, ruff, you. And I want to thank the service dog for coming up with that recommendation. Fuck you. 42 U.S.C. 1983. And the next time Nuri Martinez walks the goddamn streets through a crosswalk, put on a tighter dress. We want you to look good. All bitches in L.A. look good, and so do I. I give you back my 1 second.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Is there any other general public comment? Do we have Mark? Mark, please come forward. General public comment.
Good morning. Didn't realize I would get to follow a performance art project. My name is Mark Bachner. I'm in Mr. O'Farrell's council district. I'm here to speak on the Airbnb legislation that will be discussed later, or not today, but in a future session. This is my Airbnb story. In the Great Recession, I lost my business and turned to modification and bankruptcy to save my home. Years later, when the programs ran out, I found myself pinched to cover my home costs again. Then I found Airbnb, and the money that I was able to make from renting out my extra room not only helped me balance my household budget, but it also allowed me to keep my 2 permanent tenants well below market rents in my triplex. I am rent stabilized, and in nearly every year I've owned the property, I've skipped the annual rent increases. Sure, Airbnb is a lot more work than simply being a landlord, but everyone wins. I can cover my bills, my tenants get more affordable housing, and visitors to our great city have a place to stay.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for your time. If anyone would like a copy, I've got.
Sergeants, would you... He's got a copy. Thank you for bringing copies for all of us. All right, that concludes the multi-general public comment section and the general public comment section. Let's move on now and vote on items 12, 14, 15, and 17. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Let's now go to item 13. And Madam Clerk, it's my understanding that this item is a 2-vote item.
That is correct. A substitute motion has been posted and distributed for item 13.
Okay, so let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Let's now move to item 16.
Excuse me, Mr. President, we need the second vote on number 13.
Okay, let's do that. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, I was just testing you, Eric. Anyway, the next one is a 2-vote item as well, item 16. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now let's vote again so that I don't get beat up by Erica. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, what is before this body?
A vote on item number 1 is still required.
Okay. Item number 1 is before us. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
And
council has motions for posting and referral.
okay, they are posted, they are referred. Announcements, members? Any announcements? If all would please rise in the council chambers. If all would please rise for adjourning motions. If all would please rise. I am looking to my right side, Miss Rodriguez.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to adjourn in the memory of Mirna Iris Grijalva, beloved wife, cherished mother, adored grandmother, and respected businesswoman who passed away surrounded by her family on August 7th. She was the matriarch of Joselito's Mexican Food, a pillar of the foothills since 1977. Mirna was also dedicated to the town of Montrose, where her business is located. Serving as president for both the Montrose Chamber of Commerce and the Melrose Shopping Park Association for many years, she helped guide Montrose into the 21st century. She was tough, tenacious, and outspoken. She was also kind and generous and so funny, and we will remember her always. Mirna was predeceased by her parents, Samuel and Celia, and her 3 sisters, Shirley, Marilyn, and June. She will be fondly remembered by her adoring husband, Jose. There are 3 children, Andrea, Joselito, and Corey, to whom she was the greatest friend. Her grandchildren, Dawn, Micah, and Gavin, her nieces and nephews, and countless cousins and friends.
Okay, I'm continuing to look to my right. I don't see any more to my right. I'm now looking to my left, Mr. Harris Dawson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask that we, here in the city of Los Angeles, adjourn our meeting in the memory of Heather Heyer of Charlottesville, Virginia, who, while not an Angelino, carried the spirit of Angelinos, and that is to show up and show out when there is an injustice going on. And on this past weekend, she showed up to a rally and had her life taken by an American terrorist at the age of 32 years old. And so I ask that we all remember her example, remember what she gave her life for, and remember what we can be when we look at her example.
Thank you, Mr. Harris Dawson. Continuing to look to my left, I don't see any more members. This meeting is adjourned.
Train is a pretty big piece of equipment and never thought I'd ever get to work on one. My brother gave me a call and told me there was a job opportunity for me at Pacific Harbor Line to become a mechanic. So I took the opportunity and never looked back. Pacific Harbor Line is considered valet parking of trains because they received the trains from bigger railroads like the BNSF and the Union Pacific, put the cars at different terminals away, and then vice versa, build the trains up, put the cars together, and pass them on to bigger railroads to take them to the East Coast. F&M and PHL have a combined total of 193 employees, from train mechanic to track worker to locomotive engineer. I started learning my diesel mechanic experience in the Marine Corps, where I did 4 years. From there, I learned all my train mechanical on-the-job training and was sent to school for Caterpillar and National Railway equipment. Some of the mechanical jobs that we perform daily are anywhere from changing out an injector to a water pump or even an oil cooler. There isn't such a thing as a typical day on the job. It's always something new. You never know what you're going to run into when you get to work. My coworkers and I called this new facility the Taj Mahal. You could just walk down there, do your inspection without having to bend down compared to our old pits where you'd be almost on your knees. I have 2 boys, both already learning on how to be trained mechanics. PHL has the cleanest emission fleet of any shoreline railroad in North America. It's very important for these locomotives to be up and running at all times for Pacific Harbor Line to keep the flow of the cargo and rail cars being delivered on time.
Education, I would say start young, so safe routes to school, and we always help parents to guide their children to school on bicycles and then go to their work and not put them in a car, stop at the street side, open the door over your shoulder, say get out and close it again and go to your work. But use the bicycle, bring the kid to school, cycle back home, take the car and go to your work or cycle on to work. Conclusions. What I would say, keep in mind that the cyclist is not a pedestrian with wheels. It is an adult official road user, official vehicle. Bicycle facilities need to be tailor-made. So what you do here in LA is your LA solution. And I, from the Netherlands, cannot say how you have to do it. I'll just show you how we do it, and you can learn from it. You can apply it to your own situations, your own conditions. The handbooks, you already mentioned the CRAW